Hi everyone, welcome to this class. We're going to paint this landscape. So we're going to wet the entire paper, and if you worry about your paper drying too fast, you can definitely wet the back side of the paper. And what colors do I see, right? Beautiful, beautiful shades of phthalo blue. I actually want to add a little bit of cobalt blue too. I was thinking phthalo blue because that's pretty much my main blue. And then cobalt blue. That's why I'm adding cobalt blue. Cobalt blue mostly when I paint animals, when I paint flowers. Phthalo blue is mostly when I paint landscapes. That's a primary blue according to Holbein's color chart. I have this flat size 24 brush. This is Casanel series by Da Vinci. And there's nothing to really preserve here to stay paper dry. You can definitely use masking fluid for watercolors if you want to. And I'm going to start with the yellowish colors, so the yellow undertones. The brush does need to be wet, not overly wet though, because we still want some flow. We just don't want to have too much spreading. This is where we have like this nice shade of yellow, and here too. So I'm right away marking it for myself, and I'm grabbing more of that. This is the ochre too. So some of that ochre, and then we have this yellowish undertone here. Again, more of that yellow to some of these areas. And it does not need to look like in the reference. Like that's the last thing you should be worried about. Like you just want to create a nice balance where you have light, lots of light, and then some parts are a little darker. So you want a purple sky here maybe. And some more of the cobalt blue. Maybe I need to grab a little bit more of just the cobalt blue. So I'm going to clean the brush, pull the paint a little bit. You just want to pull the paint basically. Pull it, not to do too much. And you want to do it actually with a softer brush. This always works best for me, done with a softer brush. This is like a more concentrated paint now, heavy cream. And why more heavier? Because first of all, some areas look heavier and darker, and I just want the paint to not spread as much. This is kind of like underneath these clouds. And I'm actually going to grab my flat 3/4 size brush. And paper is drying, definitely it's drying. So I'm going to hurry up one more time. This is my 3/4 size brush. I'm going to start with these yellow undertones, but I also want some of this raw sienna here. A little too much water. So I'm going to make sure I don't have too much water, because if I have too much water and that bleeds towards the top, I'm going to create a bloom. So I'm going to grab some of the purple tones as well. This is my ochre. I didn't dilute it with water, but here's my purple. So quin red now. Some of that indigo. And add it a little bit on top. So I need something to stop this. So I'm just going to add some blue here. And here as well. And go through it a little bit to polish it. And now I can focus on these leaves, the trees. So I'm grabbing yellows with some of the burnt sienna. And this is where I'm going to create the line of all these trees. So right here, this is like iso yellow and some of the burnt sienna. So iso yellow and burnt sienna right in here. Okay, and let's see a little more of that. And this needs to be like a cream top-like ratio because paper is very wet. It's still wet in this area. Some areas will dry faster, of course, but most of these areas are very wet. And I don't want the paint to spread too much. And back to that purple with blue and some Van Dyke brown in the foreground to make it darker. And then I'll start working with my rigger brush. I'm just creating depth with colors and by preserving the light. So light and shadows are the most important. That's why colors are not that important to follow along, like, okay, I need to have the same colors, but you do not have to have the same colors. It's more about creating that nice. I don't mix these colors on the palette, I'm actually mixing them on the paper. I'm just quickly grabbing them from my palette. So whatever I can grab quickly, that's what I'm doing. There we go. To single out trees, to single them out a little bit, but then back here adding a little more foliage. So that's the stage, like where you want to add like some more foliage to make the darks, is when the paper becomes drier, like a little more dry. And we can still lift colors, but we'll have to wait for that because this is still too wet. So you can do it with the side of a brush too. It's kind of like almost pulling the paint by the side of a brush, of a rigger brush. And just pulling it. And then this is like pretty dry, the sky. I guess it's still wet. Actually, it's a good time to add even more trees. If you want to pronounce some of them more, add some foliage. I'll add a couple. I'm holding the brush by the end of the handle, so it's more like looser strokes, so I don't have as much control. My brush, I wipe it on a towel, and then I start lifting. The perfect timing happens once that shine from the paper goes away. So first you see that shine on the paper because everything's wet, right, from adding colors and so on. And then that shine starts to slowly go away. And that's when you want to start lifting. So it also depends on the colors you use, because some colors are not easy to lift. So I'm just lifting like whatever I can. I'm going to drop some water here actually, because this is like, it looks like there's leaves. I'm just going to drop some dots, create mini blooms. Those are tiny blooms. This is the area where you could also like add, let's say, or use masking fluid to mask some of the areas. It just depends how you want to paint it, how loose you want to go about a painting. It all depends. So a little bit of lifting there. I'm going to add some lines here for the grass. You don't have to do any lifting either if you don't want to. I think it adds something extra to a painting, and it's kind of nice to do it, but you don't have to. I'm going to add a little more water. So just drops of water. Just some drops of water. And when you do that, it kind of gives an illusion like there's highlighted flowers. I don't think I need it. Just want to show you that you can still do that because everything is still wet, at least in my painting. And so if you want to continue lifting, you can still try to lift a little bit. Or perhaps you just want to add some more foliage using the darks. Then you just grab the paint. I have now Van Dyke Brown, Neutral Tint Queen Red. So Neutral Tint Queen Red as my purple, and then Van Dyke Brown as an additional color. To make it the foreground darker, that's it. Maybe a little here. I'm just pulling the paint, and please remember, like, hold your brush towards the end of the handle for more random longer strokes like that. You don't need much control here. And that's it for this landscape. So I hope you enjoyed painting along, and please remember you can also add some birds. So I'm going to remove this washi tape. I know it's going to be a disaster again because it's just a cheap washi tape from Michael's, so it's ripping my paper a little bit here. And let's see. Let's hope that nothing went underneath the tape at least. I don't think it did. You always want to be gentle though when you remove it. Oh, luckily nothing really happens except I ripped a little bit of the paper here. But other than that, it's fine. So thank you so much for your time. and please let me know if you have any questions.